So I was a lifelong Disney fan till their magic started to fade for me just a few years ago, and I've been waiting for that next film to sort of bring it all back for me. So, does Snow White 2025 let that magic out of the bottle? Let's take a look.
Magic mirror on the wall.
Snow White 2025 is Disney's live-action remake of their 1937 animated classic. Disney hopes to recapture that timeless charm for a new generation by updating the story with a new twist, all while banking on those classic songs and images. But before we dive in, we've got to talk about the enchanted elephant in the room, Rachel Zegler. She stirred up a ton of controversy before the movie even hit the theaters, criticizing the original film with some pretty fiery comments.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But
I really don't remember you being this opinionated.
That didn't exactly set the stage for a warm welcome from classic Disney fans. Even still, I genuinely wanted this movie to be a good one. I went to the theater rooting for it, looking for every possible reason to give it a fair shot. So, let's take a look at the hits and the misses. The costumes and visual design of Snow White, the Queen, and the dwarves are all really good, not straying too far from the original while giving you a modern twist to a classic fantasy. You can tell they really took their time to get this part right. The magic mirror is fantastic, and the witch and the poison apple are pretty much what you'd expect. But beyond that, every other cast member and visual really just fades away. The team of merry bandits who are supposed to be the heroes of the forest, and pretty much every villager and member of the Queen's army are portrayed by actors with little or no charisma, in costumes that are so bland they'd probably get lost in a crowd of extras from a medieval convention. I truly can't remember the names, faces, or emotions of any other character because I didn't connect with a single one of them. The cinematography in the opening and closing scenes is pretty flat. It lacks depth, color, and camera movement when you really need all three at times. The scenes in the Queen's Castle and the Enchanted Forest are way better, though as an editor myself, I still wanted a bit more color and contrast at times. Still, I give those scenes a big thumbs up. In the film's middle stretch, too many camera shots just kind of freeze in place like they're bolted to the floor, which made a dull stretch of dialogue even more lifeless when just a little more movement could have pulled you in and helped you forget some of the less interesting stuff that was happening on the screen. The classic Hi-Ho song that the dwarves are known for is done really well, and I find myself whistling Whistle While You Work as I walk to my car after the show.
Whistle while you work.
The other songs do have that Disney energy that you would expect, but they are crippled by uninteresting lyrics, and at times, some poor delivery. Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot can really sing really well, and you can hear their voices trying to break into that Disney magic, but the lyrics just won't let them get there. Rachel Zegler has a solid voice, and her theme song of Waiting on a Wish is decent, but it's kind of generic, and it doesn't really elevate the story. Compared to something like Aladdin or Moana, where the music really pulls you in emotionally, Snow White just can't compete. The script is plagued with unbelievable pacing. Everything moves way too fast with emotions and relationships that the dialogue simply does not earn. You don't get a chance to fall in love with the heroes or despise the villains. This movie either needed to trim the plot points or it had to extend the runtime to actually develop the story a little more. As it stands, it just feels like a sequence of events trying to trigger classic movie moments, not really a great story that your family can enjoy. So for all of the talk Rachel Zegler gave us in her interviews about how Snow White didn't need a prince to save her, well, she actually did. They dance around this by calling her male love interest a bandit rather than a prince, but he still saves her life, not once, but twice. On the first attempt, the bandit risks his own life to save her, and she goes from despising him 5 seconds earlier to being madly in love with him in the very next scene, in one of the most unbelievable romantic setups that I've seen in a really long time. When I heard that this version of Snow White was ditching the traditional prince as a hero, I was kind of interested to see her really step up and save the day. I was looking for that defining, triumphant girl boss scene where she really conquers something or anything, but she doesn't. About the only adventurous thing she does is distracts the guards and rides a horse for a few seconds, but she never really takes the reins as the film's lead protagonist. The film just sort of lets things happen around her. In fact, the resolution to the biggest threat comes from her remembering the names of a few people and pretty much just telling them all to be nice. I'm not kidding. That's what happened.
Weird.
On the bright side, even though they circumvented the traditional prince and princess love story, Snow White 2025 does keep it family friendly. There are no inappropriate scenes regarding gender or relationships or adult themes that more conservative families would be uncomfortable with. It's safe for your kids, they stuck to the Disney vibe, and they didn't veer into any bad territory. You can tell there's a course correction of some kind along the way because their original plan of no prince probably caused them a problem. Because without a love story or true love to wake Snow White from that poison apple, I get the feeling they kind of had to pivot. Now, I can't prove it, but it sure felt like they set out to flip the entire Snow White story on its head, only to realize they made a movie nobody wanted to watch. So they had to cobble together some scenes, likely did some reshoots, because they needed to make a male love interest who could wake her with a kiss without really being a hero. And I guess that's my biggest problem with the film. It doesn't have any heroes. You'd think that the prince is the hero, or the Snow White herself, or the king, or the dwarves, or even the merry bandits, but none of them have that breakout moment when they raise their sword to the sky. Sure, you have some flickers of nobility, but there isn't a single character that saves the day in a way that gives you a triumphant movie moment. So, what's my final verdict? Snow White 2025 tries really hard to be everything to everyone by making a movie not worth complaining about or celebrating. If you're curious to see the animation come to life just for the visuals and you don't mind remembering only one or two songs that you can whistle on the way home, you'll have a little joy and you'll have a few smiles along the way. If you're looking for a movie that inspires you, changes how your kids view their destiny, or pulls you into an emotional story of adventure and heroism, I'm sorry to say, you're not going to find that here. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give this movie a 4. Watch it at home in the background while you're baking cookies or putting a puzzle together, but don't spend $100 to take the whole family to see it at the theater. But hey, I could be wrong. I'd love to know what you think. Put your comments below and tell me if I'm on track or if I'm off in the ditch. And if you want to see me do more of these, share this on social media, hit the like button, and please subscribe to help me grow the channel so that I can make more videos like this just for you. See you next time.